where to begin in hacking, which resources are the best to use, what programming language to learn, how to practically work in cybersecurity, which studies to pursue, and what profession to aim for. In today's video, we'll talk about all that and more. By the end of this video, you will know the steps to follow and have a learning plan for your future in the field. In fact, there is no one-size-fits-all path that is stable and applicable to everyone, unlike a cake recipe that everyone can follow step by step. So I will help you choose a path that suits you rather than providing one that is not fitting. It's important to know that I provide advice based on my few years of experience in the field, but it's nothing compared to the scope of cybersecurity. The only thing I am sure of is that you can progress with or without a diploma. I learned on my own through my mistakes and my passion for the field. So, I will base my advice on my experience and what I would have done if I had to start all over today. There are two things that will consistently be your allies in your journey towards learning hacking. Firstly, practice. You progress only by doing, even by making mistakes through practice. Secondly, one or more guides along the way will always be useful. There are 4 skills in cybersecurity, and they are programming, computer networks, operating systems, including Linux, and all the related skills. Your starting point should be one of these 4 pillars, and you will see that no matter what you do, you will come across one or the other, sometimes even intertwining. It's not very important which one to start with. Do what feels right for you. Keep in mind that there is no magical path. Everything you learn among these pillars will be useful regardless, and you won't waste your time. You will consistently gain experience. To help you choose, I'll give you the example of my personal case. I started with programming. More precisely, I got a guide on visualbasic.net, installed Visual Studio, and fried my brain to create my first programs. They were horribly bad, and any programmer would have mocked me. But it doesn't matter. The goal is to start and practice. After learning Visual Basic, I learned the C language through online courses. This language is important to understand the functioning of systems because it requires greater proximity to RAM. I downloaded Linux virtual machines to learn C programming and also how Linux works. This multi-pronged learning approach was very effective. Then I learned web languages like PHP and JavaScript to create and modify my website. Keep in mind that learning doesn't mean becoming an expert. Learning means being able to master the subject within the scope of your projects and goals. That's why you don't have to learn programming languages from A to Z, one after another. No one does that. Remember that practice, time, and guides are your best allies. The best way to improve your skills in hacking is to have projects. For example, I wanted to know how viruses work, how they hide in a system, and more generally, how hackers operate. So, I wanted to create my own parental control software, among other more or less whimsical projects. With web languages, I wanted to build my website to share what I've learned. And once in the web, you're never far from networks and systems. I rented a Linux server to host the site, learned to use it, learned Linux commands, and learned system and network administration. I wanted to focus on web security to protect my site and future client sites. So, I needed to understand the functioning of certain network protocols like HTTPS, DNS, ARP, IP, and many others. In the end, it brings us to the last pillar, which is transversal to all others. Here you'll find skills in languages, especially English, social engineering, and knowledge of standards, references, and laws in the field. You need to find your own path. Now you know everything you need to go fast and far. A guide, a project, and time to practice gradually. If you start now, you'll always be one step ahead of those who start tomorrow. You don't need a budget of $1,000. You don't need a diploma. If you have an internet connection and a computer, that's enough. You don't even need to spend 10 hours a day learning. Just start. If you want to start with programming, study algorithms and data structures. If you don't know which language to start with, choose Python because it's one of the most popular and essential languages. I'll provide all the links to start in the description, including a website that gives you all the basics of a programming language in a single source code. If you want to start with networks, the best place in my opinion is Professor Messer. Learn the basics of the OSI model and TCP/IP. Learn the functioning of certain protocols like HTTPS, DNS, ARP, IP, and more. You can move on to vulnerabilities in these protocols and Wi-Fi security. Tools like Wireshark will help you understand the TCP/IP model in practice. If you want to start with systems, download and install a Linux distribution like Kali Linux. Learn the architecture of Linux, the terminal, and commands. You can use security tools or shell scripts in your learning, and you can learn all this in this amazing website that's called Linux Journey. If you want to start with related skills, strengthen your social engineering skills. Learn to think like an attacker by discovering various scenarios and attacks or scams that exist, all with the appropriate defense measures. If you work in the field later on, your goal will be to fix all that. There are always subdomains that potentially involve other subdomains, but you don't need to know all of them before starting. You will naturally come across them in your learning. In the end, a hacker is, above all, a person who knows the details of computers. Knowing computers translates into many jobs and situations. A coder, for example, is a programmer who will try to find flaws in a code or build antivirus software. A tester is an expert in cyber attacks who will attack a company at its request to protect it. A hacker is also, and above all, a person concerned about ethics and laws. They have versatile skills useful to many companies. This is just a fraction of the possibilities, not to mention the future of the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, or bioinformatics. Cybersecurity jobs of tomorrow don't even exist yet. Never forget that the true hacking community doesn't want people trying to hack others. Being a hacker is helping others, and not putting on the anonymous mask to ask how to hack your ex. Being a hacker is also being in constant learning. Even 10 years after starting, you will still learn. Cybersecurity is an exciting and endless field. You've already made the excellent choice to learn hacking, a field that will take you far with prized and indispensable skills. That's all I wish for you. If you're still a bit lost, that's normal. You can do it. My goal is to help you reach yours. So, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Thanks for watching and peace.